You're in your 20s, you've got $1,000, and you're staring at it trying to figure out what to do. Maybe it's a tax refund. Maybe it's a few months of careful saving. Maybe it's the bonus you weren't fully expecting, and now it's just sitting in your checking account, quietly waiting for a decision you keep putting off. And the thing is, $1,000 feels significant enough to matter, but not significant enough to feel like it belongs in any serious conversation about wealth. It's not nothing, but it's also not, enough to change your life, right? Wrong. And I say that with full awareness of how many times people have heard some version of that sentence and rolled their eyes. My name is Threk, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, compounding mathematics, and why the gap between people who build real wealth and people who don't is almost never explained by income. It's explained by timing. Specifically, by what happens to money when time gets involved. And the $1,000 sitting in your 20s is one of the clearest examples of that principle working in the most quietly dramatic way imaginable. By the end of this, I want $1,000 to feel like a different object to you than it does right now. Not because I'm going to hype it up or oversell it, but because the math, when you actually let it land, changes the way you look at every medium-sized financial decision you make for the rest of your life. So let's start with the core claim. Why is $1,000 invested in your 20s potentially worth $50,000 later? The answer is time and compound growth working together over a long enough runway. Here's the math without making it feel like a classroom. If you're 25 and you invest $1,000 in a broadly diversified index fund that earns an average of 8% annually, which is roughly the historical average for diversified market investing over long periods, and you leave that money completely untouched for 40 years, you'll have approximately $21,000 by age 65. That's from a single one-time investment of $1,000. 21 times the original amount without ever adding another dollar. Now push the return assumption slightly toward the higher end of historical averages, 10%, which long-term equity markets have produced over many decades, and that same $1,000 over 40 years becomes approximately $45,000, closer to 50 at some modeling assumptions, nearly 50 times your original investment from a one-time deposit made when you were 25, untouched for 4 decades. That's where the $50,000 figure comes from. And I want you to sit with that for a moment. Because the instinct is to think, okay, interesting, but 40 years is a long time and I don't feel anything about 40 years from now. And that instinct is actually the entire problem I'm trying to address in this video. Here's the thing about 40 years that nobody talks about honestly. You are going to be 65 whether or not you invest this $1,000. The 40 years is happening regardless. The question is only whether the money is working during those 40 years or not. When you frame it that way, not as a distant, abstract timeline, but as time that's happening to you with or without your participation, the decision looks completely different. The second thing I want to talk about is what that number actually represents in real-life terms, because $50,000 from $1,000 isn't just an interesting mathematical fact, it's a concrete thing. $50,000 is a down payment. It's a year of retirement income. It's the financial buffer that means you don't have to take the job you hate because you desperately need the salary. It's the thing that gives you options when options matter most, and all of it traceable back to $1,000 you decided to invest at 25 instead of spending on things you wouldn't remember by 30. Now here's the part that genuinely makes my stomach drop a little every time I think about it. Most people in their 20s don't invest that $1,000, not because they're irresponsible, not because they don't care about their future, but because $1,000 in your 20s feels like it has more urgent, more present, more real uses right now. The trip, the furniture, the upgrade, the experience, and all of those things are real and valid and part of living a life. I'm not here to tell you that your 20s should be a financial monastery, but I do think most people make those trade-offs without ever fully pricing in what they're trading. They see the $1,000 as it is today. They don't see it as what it becomes over 40 years. And the psychological reason for this is completely understandable. Human brains are excellent at valuing things that are near and concrete and immediate. They are genuinely terrible at valuing things that are distant, abstract, and delayed. A vacation you can take next month feels more real than $50,000 you'll have access to in 40 years. That's not a character flaw. That's just how the brain works. But it's also why financial education matters so much, because once you understand this pattern, you can consciously override it in a way you simply can't if you've never been shown it clearly. The third thing, and this is where it gets really useful for actually making decisions, is understanding the concept of opportunity cost in personal terms. Every $1,000 you spend in your 20s on something that doesn't build toward your future has a hidden price tag. Not the $1,000 you see, but the compounded version of that $1,000 over the remaining decades of your investing horizon. So the $1,000 purchase you make at 25 doesn't just cost $1,000. It costs somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000 in future purchasing power, depending on what the market does and how long you would have left it invested. Now, that doesn't mean you should never spend money. It means you should spend it with a clearer picture of what you're actually paying. The trip you take for $1,000 at 25 costs you $20,000 to $50,000 of future wealth. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe the experience is genuinely priceless and you'd make the same choice with full information. But the choice should be made with full information, not in the fog of not quite thinking about it that most financial decisions in your 20s get made in. The fourth thing is the simplest and the most actionable. Start now. Not with everything, not by turning your 20s into a financial exercise of deprivation, but by making sure that some portion of every windfall, every bonus, every tax refund, every unexpected $1,000 that comes into your life in your 20s gets invested before you have a chance to find something to spend it on. Automate where you can. Set up an automatic transfer to a low-cost index fund so that the money moves before you see it, and make a decision about it in real time. Because real-time financial decisions in your 20s are almost always made with incomplete information, competing priorities, and the very understandable desire to enjoy the present. The automation isn't about discipline, it's about removing the moment of choice from an environment where the choice is hardest to make correctly. The math of your 20s is a one-time opportunity. You will never have this much time in front of your investments again. At 35, $1,000 invested still matters, still grows, still compounds, but it has 15 fewer years to do it than it would have at 25. And that 15 years is worth, in compounding terms, a significant multiple of the original investment. Your 20s are not a rehearsal. They're the highest leverage financial period of your entire life, not because you have the most money, you probably don't, but because you have the most time. And in the math of compounding, time is the ingredient that money cannot buy back once it's gone. So that $1,000 you're sitting on right now, it's not $1,000. It's a decision about who you want your future self to be. And the version of you that invests it today will thank the version of you that made this choice, quietly, consistently, and far more than $1,000 worth.